were 401ks so fondly thought of, and how did they get such a positive reception, and how did they garner such a positive place in our economy and with our financial institutions as far as saving? I think it was a great place to make Wall Street wealthier, and so the marketing machine of Wall Street convinced everybody that was the way to do it, because the 401k plans, I mean, there was an article, actually a 60 minutes story done on 401ks in 2009 that was mind-blowing. And when people realized the fees that they were paying and the transfer of wealth from Main Street to Wall Street just in 401ks was astonishing to me. So that's the first thing. Now, the second thing is, when you look back into the 80s and 401ks, when they were first created, they started in a very high tax environment, right? So if you could defer taxes in a high tax environment and pay in a lower tax environment, well, then they were fantastic. But the problem is today, when you put money into a 401k, what you're doing is you're contributing to an account, and you're basically saying, I am bringing the U.S. government into business with me as a business partner in this 401k account. And you're basically bringing in a bankrupt business partner that has full control to take all of your money and all of your hard work and all of your discipline away from you with a regulatory signing saying, hey, we're just going to raise taxes. Because if you're in a 22% tax bracket right now, you don't have to earn money and get in a higher tax bracket for your taxes to go up. Heck, historically, taxes have been higher. We're a really long-term, relatively low tax environment right now. So, hey, what's going on, cash flow hackers? It's Chris with Life 180, and for today's video, we're going to be talking about changes in 2022 to 401k contribution limits, and also backdoor Roth IRA conversions. And so what I want to do here is, I actually just was going through my daily reading and whatnot, and I found this article, and I just thought it would be interesting to share it with everybody and go through it. And kind of go through step by step, do a little narrative, share the article, and give my opinion on some of the stuff that's going on. All right, so you can see here the title here in this article just came out today. I just got it here. 401k limits and backdoor Roth IRAs. So a couple things that I noticed here, and I'm going to skim through this. Tax year 2022. Ultimately, workers can contribute the lesser of 100% of their salaries, or $20,500 to a 401k plan. So this is an increase of $1,000 from 2021, which is ultimately a response to the inflation that's happening right now. So it's allowing people to put more in because they got to keep up with inflation. With inflation last year being 7%, quite frankly, that's not even keeping up with the 7% inflation. But they got to do something. So I think they should have probably raised the contribution limit a little more. Not that I think anybody should put money into these things, but I think it's important that people understand their options. And you're gonna see in a couple minutes, there's something going on here that I think is really important to understand for people, because it's a loophole that might be going away that is important to understand. So people who are workers age 50 and over are allowed to do catch-up contributions, right? So they can contribute $6,500 in catch-up contributions, which mean they can contribute a maximum of $27,000 to their 401k plan in 2022. So also for 2022, after employer match, which if you own your own company, obviously you can contribute, your company can match, so if that's what you're utilizing to contribute to your 401k plan, the total is up to $67,500 in 2022, right? For 50 and older, it's $61,000 if you're under 50, right? So important to understand that those numbers are there. As you know, I'm not a big believer in 401ks, and I'm going to explain a little bit of detail about why that's the case here. But this is something that's going on really important. Now, they're talking about closing the ability for high income earners or higher income earners, the ability to put money into a backdoor Roth IRA. Now, if you're not familiar, Roth IRAs are simply places that you could put your money where it's going to grow on a tax favorable basis, tax-free basis, and you get to access that money. You never have to pay taxes on it in the future. So you're putting it in with post-tax dollars. It's going to grow tax-free, and you're going to get tax-free access. Now, they don't allow, the only problem with these things is that you can see here, these are the numbers that they're going to this year, is that for households, joint filing over $214,000, right here, if you make more than $214,000 as a household filing jointly, you cannot contribute to a Roth IRA. If you're an individual filing and you make over $144,000, you can't contribute to a Roth IRA. So the problem is with this is a lot of people who would be able to leverage them and take advantage of them are not even allowed to do it. The government limits your access to be able to do it, right? So it says here, and it's a great description of it, a backdoor Roth IRA isn't a special type of account, but rather it's a strategy. While the IRS imposes income limits on tax-deductible contributions to a traditional Roth or to a traditional IRA, there is no such income limit that applies to after-tax contributions. Thus, high-income taxpayers can make after-tax contributions to traditional Roth IRA and then convert that money into a Roth IRA. Pretty cool. It's a good game if you can get it, and that's a way, more successful, wealthy people have been getting around the system. If you have to have your money in markets, I'm not a big believer in mutual funds and stock markets and stuff of that nature, because you look at the statistics, Robert Kiyosaki says it all the time, savers are losers, and it's very, very hard after fees with market volatility, boom bust cycles, all these different things to actually achieve financial success and beat inflation and do what you need to do over a long period of time. It just is. You got to save a really high percentage of your income to get there. And with the middle class shrinking and there being more and more stress with income stagnation, with what I'll call stagflation going on in this country right now, it becomes harder and harder and harder for the everyday person to be able to do so. So people are taking advantage of this, which, by the way, if your money's there, amazing, do it. It's a great way to do it. But here's the deal. Right now, what are the proposed changes to the backdoor Roth IRA? The Build Back Better bill, right? The more I hear about this bill, the worse I think it is. The backdoor Roth IRA strategy is still currently viable, but that may change at any time in 2022. Under the provisions of the Build Back Better bill, which passed the House of Representatives in 2021, high-income taxpayers would be prevented from making Roth conversions. The proposed income limits are $400,000 for single filers and $450,000 for joint filers. So while they've increased the limits on this, to be able to do the conversions, it's a really, really big deal. There's a lot of money in those accounts of people that are looking to take advantage of that. It's important to know this bill is yet to pass the Senate and it needs full congressional approval to be able to go through and do it. There's a lot of debate about this. It is what it is. But the reality is this. The world we live in right now is crazy. I want to talk to you about 401ks for just a second. 401ks, if you think about it, I just got done going through what the limits are for 401ks, if you can contribute to them, if you want to contribute to them, what does that look like to you? Now, there's a lot of statistics out there that will show you how woefully underfunded 401ks are. But what I have to say is this, is if you look at the national debt that we have right now, you have about almost $30 trillion in national debt as a country. If you look at, when I think about 401ks, we have to go back in history. We have to think about why were 401ks so fondly thought of, and how did they get such a positive reception, and how did they garner such a positive place in our economy and with our financial institutions as far as saving? I think it was a great place to make Wall Street wealthier, and so the marketing machine of Wall Street convinced everybody that was the way to do it, because the 401k plans, there was an article, actually a 60 minutes story done on 401ks in 2009 that was mind-blowing. And when people realized the fees that they were paying and the transfer of wealth from Main Street to Wall Street just in 401ks was astonishing to me. So that's the first thing. Now, the second thing is, when you look back into the 80s and 401ks, when they were first created, they started in a very high tax environment, right? So if you could defer taxes in a high tax environment and pay in a lower tax environment, well, then they were fantastic. But the problem is today, when you put money into a 401k, what you're doing is you're contributing to an account, and you're basically saying, I am bringing the US government into business with me as a business partner in this 401k account. And you're basically bringing in a bankrupt business partner that has full control to take all of your money and all of your hard work and all of your discipline away from you with a regulatory signing saying, hey, we're just going to raise taxes. Because if you're in a 22% tax bracket right now, you don't have to earn money and get in a higher tax bracket for your taxes to go up. Heck, historically, taxes have been higher. We're a really long-term, relatively low tax environment right now. So when you look at that, if you saved $1 million, and you know, it's not just a matter of having that money, it's a matter of what that money can do for you. So then we have to take inflation into consideration, but even throwing that out and not even having the conversation about inflation and how much, what you need your money to do for you from a purchasing power perspective, what we need to think about is, what does the government have for an ability to be able to tax that money away from you? If you're at 22% and you have $1 million, that means if you access that $1 million, $220,000 of that million isn't even yours, right? So if the government were to raise taxes to 35% on you, which by the way, is not out of the realm of reality. In fact, I would say it's more likely than anything else. If they were to raise it to 35%, what's going to happen? Your share of that money drops, right? Because what happens is, instead of them accessing $220,000, they're going to access $350,000 of your money, right? So now you only, out of that $1 million, only $650,000 of that money is actually yours. And so then when you take into account that you need to get that $650,000, you know, to earn, to be able to maintain some standard viable growth after taxes, you know, like let's use a 4% rule. You get to $1 million after taxes, the real money in your pocket at 4% at $650,000, it's like $26,000 a year of income. Think about that. That's disgusting. To go from, you know, having $1 million to really only get $26,000 in my pocket, you know, that is not, you know, to me, what I'm going to sign up for if I want to be financially successful. Not to mention the fact that $26,000, you know, 20 years from now is probably only going to be worth about what $15,000 is today. So, or less even. So those are things that we need to take into consideration when we're thinking about these accounts. You know, I put this video together to let everybody know what the new limits are, but I also put it together to let you know that if you are thinking about contributing to a 401k, I would really encourage you to really think about who you want to get into business with. Do you understand the investments? Do you understand the fee structures? Do you understand everything that goes along with 401ks? If you don't, what I want to encourage you to do is, at the end of this video, I'm going to put a playlist on there called the 10 Perils of Your 401k. And I encourage you to go through that playlist, watch every one. The videos are very brief, but it really talks about the nuances of how 401ks can be extremely dangerous if you don't understand what you're getting involved with. Once again, they were great for a period of time, but in a declining interest rate environment from the 80s to 2009, we lived in this declining interest rate environment, and from 2009 to now, all we've been doing is living in that low interest rate environment and printing money, which now is finally catching up to us and leading to inflation, and we're gonna have challenges. So we need to prepare for a different financial strategy, for a different environment, with a different set of economics, right? Like we're gonna, the facts are what assets do, how they perform, what assets work, what strategies work, are different in an increasing interest rate environment than they are a decreasing environment. So you need to take that stuff into consideration. And in an increasing environment, it's really hard to say that a lot of times in a row, in an increasing environment, 401ks and the strategies and the investment models used inside of 401ks are simply not going to get you where you want to go. And I'm a big believer the only way you're going to reach financial freedom over the next 20, 30, 10 years is by investing for cash flow. It's one of the reasons I wrote my book, Cash Flow Hacking. You can get a free copy in the description below. There's a link. You can go down. All I ask you to do is pay for shipping and handling, but go check it out. This isn't a sales pitch for the book. If you want it, go check it out. But the bottom line is, investing for cash flow is where it's at, and controlling and putting yourself in an environment and in a situation where you have to become better, where you have to invest in yourself, where you have to take responsibility for the results in your life. That's the only way you're going to get there. I heard too many people in 2009 and 10 and 11 complain that the reason they were where they were is because the person that they trusted with their money didn't do the right thing and they were up the creek without a paddle. So many people took advantage of the opportunity then. The reality is more millionaires were made in 2009 than any other year in history. And I think the next time we have a financial correction, the amount of millionaires made will be even greater than it was in 2009. And the reality is, as opportunity goes down for those who aren't prepared, who are not prepared, opportunity goes up for those who are. And so get your money safe, liquid, accessible, and get ready for it. And that's what the book Cash Flow Hacking is all about. It's called opportunistic investing, and I'm telling you, it's what's going on. It is the future. We're going to have a window of a 5 to 7 year period where opportunistic investing is going to be the key for you to be able to have financial success. So if you have any questions, comment in the comment section below. If you haven't already, make sure you click on the subscribe button, hit the bell. That way you get notified every time I launch a new video. Till next video, have a blessed, inspirational day. We'll see you then. Take care.